Hi, Amanda. This is Clive, your father. This is how my dad used to introduce himself to me every single time he called. Despite the fact that I had caller ID, and obviously I know who Clive is. This was just one of his quirks. But on this day, I was sitting in my office, presumably inundated with emails, when my phone buzzed. And I looked down and I saw it was my dad, which I thought was weird because it's the middle of a work day, right? So I thought, okay, it must be important, and I answered. Now, when I answered, my parents were on the phone, plural, and that never happened. Plus, I didn't receive the obligatory, "Hi, Amanda, this is Clive, your father," commentary. So I knew that something wasn't right. He eventually said, "I have leukemia and the prognosis isn't good." Now, have you ever you've seen in the movies where the background fades into nothing and all you can hear and feel is the weight and the thumping of your own heart? Well, that was me, and this was no movie. This was my actual life. Now, my dad, he wasn't just my father. He was my person. You know, he shaped me. We weren't just related, we were reflections of each other. Same sense of humour, same worldview, same values. I mean, sure, you know, obviously I have my mum's DNA as well, same facial features, same mannerisms, same body type. Thanks, Mum. But my soul and my character and my identity, that came from my dad. So I didn't really know how to navigate this news. So then they decided to double down and tell me that he only had 6 months left to live. So I did what I do best. I rallied. I became educated. I would call morning, noon and night for status updates. I went through all the blood test results. I went to every appointment that I could. I couldn't understand how this could happen to him. And I needed answers, you know, I needed a way forward. But what I wasn't prepared for was the fact that I couldn't fix it. So time passes and we now have a new normal, and I'm taking him for regular transfusion. You know, he was doing well, all things considered. And we're sitting in the transfusion ward and the oncologist ominously appears, which is weird. And I'm now learning that weird is not good. So he walks in and he says, "Hi, Clive. I'm afraid this is it. Your time is up." Now, my dad laughs. He starts making jokes. He reminds the oncologist that he's a cat with 9 lives. He has cheated death many times before. The oncologist looks straight back at him and gently says, "I'm sorry, Clive. Cats only have 9 lives and your lives are up." Now, my dad was a joyful man, like he legit reminded me of the Dalai Lama. But in this moment, understandably, it was like he was frozen in place, except for the tiniest little tear that I saw right in the corner of his eye. And it never fell. It never traced a path down his cheek. But what it told me was that he had heard and he'd understood. And from that moment, everything changed. Within 2 days, he was tachycardic. His heart rate was 382 beats per minute. And in 2 days after that, he was gone. His heart literally broke, and so did mine. And I realised as I went through the weeks after his passing that I hadn't just lost my dad, I'd actually lost myself as well. You know, I was numb. I didn't care about anything or anyone. I couldn't understand how this guy was not walking the earth anymore. He had been with me since the day I was born. And so I'd lost my spark. And I kept asking myself, if it was him who made me who I was, then who was I without him? Now, I think I'm quite lucky because my question changed. My question changed from who was I without him to who was I because of him. Now, I've learned life can be brutal. We have all faced loss and failure, or at the very least, moments that knock the wind out of us. You know, suffering is shared, right? And even still, it can sometimes feel like we're carrying a burden that nobody else understands. And I think also suffering isn't just about the event itself. It's the aftermath too. It's the emotional overwhelm. It's the fear that envelops us. It's the feeling of losing control. You know, and I think it doesn't just hurt us. It changes us. It literally shifts the ground beneath your feet. But I think it's in that shift where we have a choice. Do we let pain define us? Or do we get curious and look at what it could mean for our lives? And I realised when I was looking back over my dad's life, he'd been through a lot. You know, he had suffered a violent and sudden death of his eldest son. Then he'd experienced a slow and agonising death of his youngest daughter. And now here he was facing his own demise. And yet he never shrank. In fact, he loved more fully. He was more open. He was more vulnerable. He laughed more loudly, if that was even possible. And he just lived more intensely. And it made me realise that if I wanted my grief and my suffering to stop existing, I had to stop feeding it. And it's like a 2mm shift in where you hit a golf ball can change its entire trajectory. I had to shift my perspective as well and start focusing on bridging the gap from where I was to where I wanted to be. Because energy flows where focus goes. So this is not just a theory. This is a truth that I've come to know, that our most painful moments, especially our most painful moments, they hold a profound potential. They strip away what's superficial and they reveal what really matters. And new beginnings lie dormant in your pain.